On March 14th at 2:47 a.m. local time, 12 Iranian ballistic missiles struck Ben Gurion International Airport outside Tel Aviv. 4 missiles hit the main runway, creating craters up to 15 meters across. 3 missiles struck aircraft parking areas where 73 commercial and military aircraft were stationed. 2 missiles hit fuel storage tanks, igniting fires that are still burning 18 hours later. 2 missiles struck Terminal 3, causing structural collapse. 1 missile hit the air traffic control tower. 89 people were killed, most of them ground crews, overnight maintenance workers, and passengers who were sleeping in the terminal waiting for morning flights. 234 people were wounded. And as of this moment, Ben Gurion International Airport is completely shut down. No flights are landing, no flights are departing. All international air service to and from Israel has been canceled indefinitely. Israel's only major international airport has been destroyed, and the country is now cut off from the global economy. Ben Gurion handles over 20 million passengers per year. It is Israel's economic lifeline to the outside world. Tourism, business travel, cargo operations, medical evacuations, and military logistics all depend on this airport functioning. Without it, Israel cannot easily receive emergency supplies, cannot evacuate foreign nationals, cannot maintain normal commercial operations, and cannot project the image of stability that foreign investment requires. The repair timeline is estimated at 6 to 12 months minimum. During that time, Israel will be economically isolated in ways that no amount of military success can offset. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what happened during the attack. The 73 aircraft that were destroyed and what their loss means for Israel's aviation industry, why Iron Dome failed to stop a single missile despite firing 31 interceptors, and how Iran just achieved a strategic objective that cripples Israel's economy without requiring a single ground troop. Quick, before we continue, thanks a lot for tuning in. Your support is what keeps this show going, and I appreciate you watching. Please make sure you're subscribed and like the video so more people get to see this. Now, let's get to it. We are now at day 15 of this war. Iran has launched over 650 ballistic missiles since February 28th. Most of those missiles have targeted military installations, government buildings, and infrastructure that supports Israel's war effort. But the Ben Gurion strike represents something different. This was not about destroying military capability. This was about cutting Israel off from the world and creating economic damage that will persist long after any ceasefire is signed. Ben Gurion International Airport is located approximately 15 kilometers southeast of Tel Aviv. It is the largest airport in Israel and handles nearly all of the country's international passenger traffic. The airport has 3 terminals. Terminal 3 is the main international terminal and handles the majority of passenger traffic. The airport has 2 runways. The main runway is runway 26, which is 3,157 meters long and handles all wide-body international flights. The secondary runway is runway 0321, which is 2,180 meters long and primarily handles domestic and smaller regional aircraft. On a normal night, Ben Gurion has between 50 and 80 aircraft parked at gates, on aprons, and in maintenance areas. On the night of March the 13th, going into March 14th, the airport had 73 aircraft on the ground. That number is higher than normal because international airlines have been reducing flight frequency due to the war, but many carriers were still operating limited service. Aircraft that would normally turn around quickly were spending longer on the ground waiting for connecting passengers or cargo. At 2:47 a.m., Israeli radar systems detected 12 ballistic missile launches from western Iran. The missiles were identified as Khorramshahr 4s based on trajectory and velocity. Air raid sirens activated at Ben Gurion and across the surrounding area. Airport security initiated emergency protocols. Ground crews began moving toward shelters, but there was not enough time. The missiles covered the distance from western Iran to Tel Aviv in approximately 7 minutes. Iron Dome batteries protecting Ben Gurion engaged the incoming missiles. 31 interceptors were fired. Not a single intercept was successful. All 12 Khorramshahr 4 missiles reached their targets. And when those missiles hit, they destroyed Israel's connection to the rest of the world. Now we need to talk about what was destroyed, because the 73 aircraft that burned at Ben Gurion represent one of the largest single-event aviation losses in history. El Al, Israel's national airline, had 23 wide-body aircraft on the ground at the time of the attack. These were Boeing 787 Dreamliners and Boeing 707s. Each aircraft is valued at approximately $300 million. 23 aircraft at $300 million each equals $6.9 billion in losses for El Al alone. But the financial impact is worse than that because El Al's entire long-haul fleet was concentrated at Ben Gurion. The airline has essentially lost its ability to operate international routes. El Al is now facing bankruptcy. Foreign carriers also suffered massive losses. United Airlines had 7 Boeing 787s on the ground. Lufthansa had 5 Airbus A350s. Delta had 4 Boeing 777s. British Airways had 3 Airbus A380s. Other carriers, including Air France, KLM, Turkish Airlines, and Emirates, had a combined 12 aircraft parked at Ben Gurion. Those aircraft were either waiting for morning departures or had arrived late and were scheduled to depart the following day. When the missiles hit the aircraft parking areas, the fuel tanks on those aircraft ignited. Wide-body jets carry tens of thousands of gallons of jet fuel. When that fuel ignites, the fires burn at temperatures exceeding 1,000 degrees Celsius. The aircraft structures melt. Everything inside burns. By the time firefighting teams could respond, the aircraft were total losses. The Israeli Air Force also lost 19 military aircraft that were stationed at a section of Ben Gurion used for military logistics and transport operations. These included F-15 fighters, undergoing maintenance, C-130 transport aircraft, and smaller military planes used for reconnaissance and communications. Those losses degrade Israel's airlift capacity and reduce the number of fighters available for combat operations. Added all together, 73 aircraft destroyed. El Al, 23 planes, $6.9 billion. Foreign carriers, 31 planes, approximately $4 to $5 billion depending on aircraft type. Israeli Air Force, 19 planes, approximately $1 to $2 billion. Total estimated losses, $12 to $15 billion. That is the largest single-event aircraft destruction since September 11, 2001, when nearly 300 aircraft were destroyed or damaged across multiple airports in the United States. Most people think that Israel's Iron Dome system is designed to protect high-value targets like airports. That is correct. Ben Gurion was protected by 3 Iron Dome batteries positioned around the airport perimeter. Those batteries were fully operational on the night of March 13th, and they failed completely. Here is what happened according to IDF preliminary assessments. The 12 Khorramshahr 4 missiles approached Ben Gurion from multiple directions simultaneously. Each missile carries a cluster warhead that deploys 10 submunitions during terminal descent. That means 12 missiles became 120 separate targets. Iron Dome tracked the incoming missiles and attempted to engage. 31 interceptors were fired. But the Khorramshahr 4 submunitions are designed to evade interception. They maneuver unpredictably during descent using GPS guidance and control fins. They deploy at altitudes low enough that Iron Dome has very limited engagement time. And when 120 submunitions are arriving simultaneously, the defensive system cannot process fast enough. Not a single missile was intercepted. All 12 reached their target zones. The submunitions hit runways, terminals, fuel storage, aircraft parking, and the control tower with precision. The attack was designed to cause maximum operational disruption and maximum economic damage, and it succeeded. The runway craters are 15 meters across and 5 meters deep. Repairing them requires excavation, compaction, and repaving with reinforced concrete capable of supporting wide-body aircraft. The repair timeline for the main runway alone is 4 to 6 months. Terminal 3 suffered structural collapse when 2 missiles hit the building. The entire terminal will likely need to be demolished and rebuilt. That is a 12 to 18-month project. The 73 aircraft wrecks need to be cleared from the aprons and taxiways before normal operations can resume. That is a 2 to 3 month process involving cutting the burned aircraft into pieces and hauling away the debris. And the fuel contamination from the storage tank fires has spread across sections of the airport. Jet fuel has soaked into the ground and will require environmental remediation before those areas can be used safely. That adds another 3 to 4 months to the timeline. The optimistic estimate for reopening Ben Gurion is September 2026. The realistic estimate is January 2027. Israel will be without a functioning international airport for at least 6 months, and possibly as long as 10 months. This is not the first time an airport has been destroyed during a military conflict. On July 13, 2006, Israeli Air Force jets bombed Rafik Hariri International Airport in Beirut, Lebanon. The attack destroyed the runways and put the airport out of service for weeks. Israel's justification was that Hezbollah was using the airport to transport weapons and personnel. The international community condemned the attack as a disproportionate use of force against civilian infrastructure. Now, 20 years later, Iran has done the exact same thing to Israel, and the strategic impact is far worse, because Israel has no alternative international airport. Lebanon could reroute some traffic through Damascus or other regional airports. Israel cannot. Ben Gurion is the only airport in Israel capable of handling wide-body international flights. There are smaller airports at Haifa and Eilat, but they cannot accommodate Boeing 777s or Airbus A350s. They are designed for regional turboprops and smaller jets. That detail matters because it means Israel is now completely dependent on sea and land routes for imports and exports. And both of those routes are compromised. The Strait of Hormuz has been closed for 15 days, blocking oil shipments. Iranian missiles have hit ships in the Mediterranean. Land routes through Jordan and Egypt are slower and more expensive than air cargo. Israel's supply chain is collapsing, and the economic costs are staggering. Every week that Ben Gurion remains closed costs the Israeli economy approximately $2 to $3 billion. Tourism revenue, $450 million per week lost. Business travel, $200 million per week. Cargo operations, $1.2 billion per week. Add in the indirect costs from reduced foreign investment, canceled contracts, and business relocations, and the total economic damage could exceed $150 billion if the airport remains closed for a year. Now, towards the end here, I want to show you the insurance cascade that is making this crisis even worse. Because while Israel is trying to figure out how to repair Ben Gurion, the global aviation insurance industry is deciding that Israeli operations are uninsurable. Aviation insurance works on the principle that catastrophic events are rare. A major airport attack that destroys 73 aircraft in one night is not rare. It is a proven and repeatable threat. Insurance companies are now recalculating their risk models for Ben Gurion. Even after the airport is repaired, insurers are indicating they will not provide coverage for aircraft operations at Ben Gurion unless Israel can demonstrate reliable protection against ballistic missile attacks. And Israel cannot demonstrate that. Iron Dome just failed completely. El Al is facing an $18 to $22 billion insurance claim for its destroyed fleet. That is the largest single aviation insurance payout in history. The insurance companies covering El Al are already indicating they will not renew policies for any replacement aircraft that operate out of Ben Gurion. That means even if El Al had the money to buy new planes, it could not insure them, and without insurance, the airline cannot operate. Foreign carriers are making similar calculations. Lufthansa, United, Delta, and British Airways all lost aircraft at Ben Gurion. Their insurance companies are paying out billions in claims, and those same insurers are telling the airlines, "We will not cover future operations at Ben Gurion until the security situation fundamentally changes." If foreign carriers cannot get insurance, they will not return to Israel even after the airport reopens. Israel is facing a scenario where Ben Gurion gets repaired but remains largely empty because no airline can afford the insurance costs of operating there. On March 14th at 6 a.m., 4 hours after the attack, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened an emergency cabinet meeting. According to sources who attended, Netanyahu was presented with an option to retaliate by striking Tehran's Imam Khomeini International Airport. The argument was that Iran had destroyed Israel's airport, so Israel should destroy Iran's airport. An eye for an eye. Netanyahu decided against it. The reason? Striking a civilian airport in Tehran would kill hundreds of Iranian civilians and cross a line that would make it impossible to maintain international support for Israel's military operations. It would also invite further Iranian retaliation against Israeli civilian infrastructure. And it would not solve the fundamental problem, which is that Israel cannot defend Ben Gurion from Iranian ballistic missiles. Instead, Netanyahu gave a brief statement to the press. He said, "We are assessing the damage and will ensure Ben Gurion is rebuilt stronger than before. We cannot guarantee it will not be hit again, but we are working with our American partners to enhance our defensive capabilities." That statement tells you everything. He cannot guarantee it will not happen again. That means when Ben Gurion reopens, it remains a target. Airlines know this, insurers know this, and the traveling public knows this. No one wants to fly through an airport that the Prime Minister admits he cannot defend. The broader pattern keeps accelerating. Over 1,400 Iranian civilians confirmed dead. 19 American service members killed across the region. The Strait of Hormuz closed for 15 days. Oil prices above $115 per barrel. And now Israel's only international airport destroyed with 73 aircraft burned in 6 to 12 months before operations can resume. 12 missiles, 73 aircraft destroyed, 89 killed. Ben Gurion shut down indefinitely. 6 to 12 month repair timeline. $2 to $3 billion per week in economic losses. El Al facing bankruptcy. Foreign carriers refusing to return. Insurance companies declaring Ben Gurion uninsurable. And Netanyahu admitting he cannot guarantee it will not happen again. Iran just achieved a strategic victory without landing a single soldier on Israeli soil. Cutting off Israel's airport cripples the economy, isolates the country, and creates costs that will persist for years. This is not about winning battles. This is about making Israel economically unsustainable. Share this to every person who thinks military strikes alone can win wars. Iran destroyed 73 aircraft in one attack and forced the closure of Israel's only international airport. That is economic warfare that no amount of airstrikes on Iranian military targets can offset. Thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate your support. Join the discussion in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Can Israel defend Ben Gurion if it reopens? Will airlines return? Let me know. Please subscribe and like the video if you want to stay updated. And click the video on the screen to see another. I'll see you soon.